Good evening. Tonight, we look at a seismic shift in the American financial landscape. President Trump has issued a direct challenge to the nation's largest banks, calling for a dramatic one-year limit on credit card interest rates that could save consumers billions. But critics warn it may dismantle the current credit system as we know it. White House calls for a 10% cap on credit card interest rates starting January 20th. Banking leaders prepare for a legal battle, warning of a massive contraction in credit availability. New data shows elder fraud reached record highs in 2024, with losses estimated at over $80 billion. And later, the Ohio Supreme Court issues a surprising ruling on the definition of boneless chicken wings. The 10% interest rate cap. Lead line: President Donald Trump has officially proposed a temporary, one-year 10% cap on all credit card annual percentage rates. The proposal arrives as total U.S. credit card debt has reached a record $1.23 trillion. According to a new bank rate survey, 61% of cardholders with balances have now been in debt for at least a year. On January 9th, the president announced the plan on social media, stating, "Effective January 20th, 2026, I am calling for a one-year cap on credit card interest rates of 10%. Currently, the national average APR sits significantly higher, between 19.7% and 23.79%. Research from the Vanderbilt Policy Accelerator suggests this move could save Americans roughly $100 billion in interest annually. Brian Shearer, the report's author and a former federal regulator, told CNBC that while banks might cut rewards by about $27 billion, the interest savings would far outweigh that loss for most borrowers. However, the banking industry is pushing back aggressively. A joint statement from the American Bankers Association and other major groups calls the 10% cap devastating, warning it would force lenders to tighten underwriting and pull back credit for millions of families and small businesses. Bank of America CEO Brian Moynihan cautioned that when banks cannot price for risk, the response is to stop lending to higher-risk segments entirely. What happens next? The exact method of implementation is not confirmed in the provided sources. While the president set a January 20th deadline, legal analysts suggest a mandatory nationwide cap would likely require congressional action. Banking leadership, including J.P. Morgan Chase CFO Jeremy Barnum, has indicated that legal challenges are on the table. While the battle over interest rates unfolds, a different kind of financial threat is quietly draining the life savings of the most vulnerable Americans. Elder fraud and 2026 financial shifts lead line. New federal estimates reveal that financial fraud targeting older adults cost victims up to $81.5 billion in 2024 alone. The Federal Trade Commission reports that these losses are becoming more severe, with some individuals losing at least $100,000. This surge in fraud comes as Americans face a complex financial outlook for 2026. Experts point to new 401k changes arriving this year that will specifically impact high earners. Additionally, student loan borrowers are being warned that they have only a limited time left before the current payment pause expires. What happens next? Investors are encouraged to look into tax-efficient investing strategies to boost portfolio returns as the 2026 fiscal year begins. Finally, tonight, we look at two stories where technology and the law are redefining everyday items, from the voices we hear to the food we eat. AI in advertising and boneless wings. Lead line: the intersection of artificial intelligence and consumer law is making headlines this week. First, the Federal National Mortgage Association, known as Fannie Mae, has released a new advertisement featuring an AI-generated version of President Trump's voice. According to the sources, the president gave his explicit permission for the use of his digital likeness. And in a ruling that is trending nationwide, the Ohio Supreme Court has decided that chicken wings advertised as boneless can, in fact, have bones. The court determined that the term boneless refers to a cooking style rather than a guarantee of the absence of bones. Closing. That is our report for this evening. As we head toward January 20th, all eyes remain on the White House and the banking sector to see if the 10% rate cap becomes a reality or remains a point of negotiation. This has been your nightly news summary. Good night.